So got into it. I thought it's gonna be easy. Got slapped in the face a couple of times. And I was like, this is actually really hard. And then you realize if it was easy to be $1 million producer, then every agent would be $1 million producer, right?
Gogo, thanks for coming on the podcast. It's good to see you. How you doing?
Oh, I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. We first met a few years ago, a Video Power Conference in the DC area. You were a speaker at. You were fantastic. I followed you on social ever since.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
I remember certain things about your story I'd love for you to elaborate. So you mentioned before you're an immigrant, you traveled over here and you just figured it out. I know you started in real estate production, but what I think about, what I read about you too, is that you have a lot of ancillary revenue streams now. So how long were you in production for? Tell us your story. I'm just going to let you go.
I feel like where I come from and who I am today, it's almost like it's two different humans or 10 different humans. My name is the same, kind of. My bloodline is the same, my fingerprint, my retina. But other than that, man, am I not the same person who came to America by myself. So I'm originally from Transylvania, Romania, but I am Hungarian by nationality. So I speak both. I speak Hungarian as my native, and then I speak Romanian as a second language. And then I learned English when I was 21, when I moved to the United States by myself. I didn't know a single human being when I came to this country. I had no college education. I had no sphere of influence. I didn't have a single cousin that's going to buy real estate with me, or actually, I didn't know what I'm going to be doing in America. Real estate kind of just came about by accident. It was my neighbor's idea. She thought I would make a great realtor because I had a great Facebook presence. I had a great Facebook presence at the time because that was the only way for me to see my family and my friends. I left a whole life behind, right? I was 21 when I came. So I lived half my life here now and half my life there, right? So when she said I would make a great realtor, I was a stay-at-home mom at the time raising the boys. We have 2 boys. I was sitting at home with them and I was at the end of the driveway. The kids were playing outside. And when she said that, I was like, how hard could it possibly be? I watch HGTV. They make it look really simple. These people just show up in your life. They're qualified for millions of dollars. You're just going to show them 3 houses. They're going to buy one. They're going to love you the whole time. They're going to be waving referrals. Like, I was like, how hard can this be, right? And so I got into it real. And I passed right away. I went and talked to real estate one. She referred me because my neighbor was the director of Capital Title at the time, marketing director. And so when she referred me, I just went and talked to the broker. The broker said that if I pass my licensing, they pay for it. So by far, I have $0 invested into my real estate career. I went to real estate school. I passed my licensing first try. They hired me right away. And I thought I'm going to be a top producing $1 million agent. And
did it work out there?
Little did I know. The truth is, the reality of it is not always roses and sunny and 75, right? So got into it. I thought it's going to be easy. Got slapped in the face a couple of times. And I was like, whoa, like this is actually really hard. And then you realize if it was easy to be $1 million producer, then every agent would be $1 million producer, right? I started researching. I'm a researcher. I don't like not understanding something. So I was like, okay, hold on a minute. Where's the disconnect, right? So I went and interviewed all the top producing agents in the office. And I realized what they were doing that works for them. And many of them were, and mind you, this is back in 2011, right? So I'm going to take like 14 years. So the top producers in the office were farming an area through postcards or door knocking. Postcards I'm not doing because I think it's stupid, because every time I get a postcard, it goes straight in the trash. Mm-hmm. And also not doing because I can afford to. In order for postcards to work, you have to send a minimum of 8 times before your brand becomes recognized in their brain, which costs money, which I didn't have. The next one was door knocking. I'm 5'2", little blondie. Stranger danger, not happening. I'm also not begging people for their business. I know what I bring to the table. Then I went and talked to the other top producing agent. She was buying Zillow leads. And I remember, I'll never forget at the time, she was paying $4,000 for Zillow leads, which today people are paying $40,000, $400,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. For Zillow leads, like these big, large teams. I just remember thinking, I just want to make $4,000. Like, yeah. I don't have $4,000 to be paying for Zillow leads. So that was a no. Then somebody was cold calling in the office and I was like, oh my gosh, my name is Gogo and I have an accent. Like, and my today's accent, like go back 14 years, my accent is way worse. So I was like, that's out of the equation. So I was like, okay, Sandra, what the heck is left for me to do? And then I realized, I'm like, okay, so who could be my potential client? And I was like, strangers, because I don't know anyone. Okay, so where do I find strangers? And I was like, on Facebook, because everybody and their mother has a Facebook account and their grandmother, right? So I created Gogo's Real Estate on Facebook and I started making random posts of like, guess what I learned today? Or when I saw something random in a house, I was like, oh, what is this? Like literally I would post photos because in Michigan, I have shown all kinds of properties because that's what I'm licensed. I'm licensed in Michigan. Mm-hmm. I live in Florida, in Tampa, and I'm not licensed in Florida. I'm retired. But, showing these properties, I would see some funny things, right? And I would take pictures and like, guys, what the heck is this? And then people would comment, or I would go to a training, I would learn something, and then I would be like, did you know that blah, 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 right? So I would create content. And then over time, A, I entertained them with the silly stuff. And B, every time I learned something, those words came through my mouth, which over time made me the expert. So it was like a win-win. People in average move every 7 years, about 7 miles from where they live now. So that means for 6.5 years, so for 6 months they're on the market, they're researching, they're thinking about it, right? But for 6.5 years, they're just like, they're not interested. They could care less how much homes are sitting on the market. They could care less about interest rate. They could care less about anything because they're not on the market, which means for 6.5 years, now you have to entertain them. You have to give them something so they continue following you so you can stay in front of them. So when they are ready, 7 years later, you're the agent that they're thinking about, right? So I had to create that content to entertain my audience so that they don't have a chance to forget me. And so that's how Gogo's Real Estate started on Facebook. And then right around 5 to 6, 7 years in your career, right around 5 years, I would say you start getting referrals, which was super cool. But right around 7 years, at least me personally, I was getting burnt out. I needed to vent. So I needed to like bitch at times and get it out of my system, right? Because not every client is a walk in the park. Some clients are walking Jurassic Park, and it's like, so I was like, I need to take my pity party from Facebook because everybody on Facebook who follows me are my clients. And I'm going to start another account on Instagram. Didn't know that people are going to find me there too, right? And I figured I'd change my audience there. I'm going to talk to realtors and talk about the good, bad, and the ugly of real estate, right? So Facebook put on buyers and sellers. I'm going to take my party over here and vent what it actually takes and what is the backside of it look like, and you know what I mean. So and it took off. Most of my followers were agents, right, or anybody that's in tied to real estate transactions, like lenders and title companies like yourself. But then also my clients ended up following me there anyway, because I was more honest about the actual nitty gritty of real estate, the good, bad, and the ugly. I started getting way more followers there. So now I'm close to almost 100,000 followers on Instagram alone. So that's how that came about. And then over time, that made me the expert in the transactional side of, right? So yes, I'm very good at negotiating. I'm very good at marketing. I'm very good at representing my buyers and sellers. And I stand for my fiduciary duty. Like my reputation is my number one for me, right? But I've also become very good over time teaching others how to do the same, how they can build their business the same way, how they don't have to worry about where the next lead is coming from when you're a loyal person, when you're a trustworthy person, and all of that. So over time, I started creating these coaching programs or these training programs. So very first program of mine was Gogo's Bootcamp. Social media, which I got 2 Comma Club awards for from ClickFunnels, which means that I have sold over 7 digits in a product on a specific funnel, which was Gogo's Bootcamp social media. And then I switched to EXP. And when I switched to EXP, I became very good at agent attraction. So one of the reasons, so my career was real estate one for 7.5 years, then Keller Williams for almost a year. And then from Keller Williams, I came over to EXP. I switched to Keller Williams because I already had 30 some thousand followers, and most of which were agents. So I was having a lot of the agent conversation of like, oh, I don't like it at my brokerage. They take too big of a cut, or I want to learn from you, or whatever, right? So I started doing agent attraction, so said without getting paid at real estate one, because there was just no way of getting paid for that, right? At real estate one, unless they joined my local team. And I was in Michigan and these people were in Kentucky, right? So there was no way of doing that. So I said, okay, I need to switch to a brokerage where I'm able to do that. So I switched to Keller Williams with the idea that I am going to be able to build a nationwide organization with like-minded agents, and then I'm going to be able to collect on that, right? Because I believe that an hour of your time is an hour of your life. So if you're taking time away from the actual real estate transaction to change an agent's life, right now in this hour and I'm changing this other agent's life, I'm not getting paid. I don't have a way of collecting a commission, which means I have to figure out another way I can get paid for the hour, or I need to stop doing that activity. Well, I really enjoy this industry and I know what real estate can do in someone's life. So I wanted to make sure that I don't stop doing it, but I get paid for it. So that's why I switched to Keller Williams. Well, at Keller Williams, it's profit share. Most offices are not profitable. If there is profit, there's no share. I'm blonde, but I pay for this hair color. So I was like, okay, let me figure out how this works. Gary Keller takes revenue share. Everybody else gets profit share. So then I want to be Gary Keller when I grow up.
Yeah.
So I switched to EXP. So now I'm Gary Keller, right? Yeah. I get revenue share, not profit share. So now I built an organization at EXP that I call the Team Gogo organization. There's almost 1,500 agents. We are in almost every single state in the US. Well, I became the number one woman agent attractor in the company. So I personally sponsored almost 300 agents. So those 300 grew into the 1,400 something, right? So then people were asking me, okay, how do you do agent attraction? I created another boot camp. It's called Gogo's Bootcamp Agent Attraction. So in the Agent Attraction Bootcamp, I teach other agents how to build a local team or how to build an organization if they are with a brokerage like Real or EXP or LPT, where you can build nationally or internationally. So that bootcamp I also got a 2 Comma Club awards for, right? Which is still all of these products. Besides my social media, I don't sell anymore. The algorithms change so fast, I can't keep up with it. I don't have the amount of time anymore. But bootcamp and attraction bootcamp, and then my Gogo community, those are still products, or my circle. These are products that are active and someone can work with me. So with that being said, I transitioned myself from transactions. I was a top producing agent at Real Estate One. I was a top producing agent at Keller Williams. And when I transitioned over to EXP, I stayed as a top producing agent for a couple years. Then I built a local team. I had a local team for a few years. And so now I've been with EXP for 7 years. And the last year I stopped my team. But then when we moved to Florida, I ran my team for about a year and a half remotely. And then I realized a little bit harder than I thought. Not harder, but it just requires more time. And here's the beauty when you have choices, right? Because I built all of these products that made me millions of dollars through the years, my hands are not tied for the next commission. I have a choice. Like my team made 500,000 GCI with 2 agents, and I lived in another state. For somebody who's like, holy shit, that's still $250,000 at a 50-50 split. But for me, $250,000, if something takes 15 to 20 hours a week, is not enough money, because I can make that over here in an hour. So I ended up shutting my team down, not because we weren't profitable. We were very profitable, because I've never had an office. I've never bought leads. My leads were literally fed organically to my team. I had no expense besides the cut with my team, right? Yeah. And so I ended up closing my team down. I ended up continue building the Team Gogo organization, continue building my digital products. And then last year I added on 2 more products. One of them is the Gogo community. So what I noticed about 4 years ago, I would say 4 or 5 years ago, was the very first year where I got beeped by taxes. That was actually the very first time that I put the F word on Instagram. And my husband at the time was still working corporate America. And he came home and he goes, oh, it's official. And I'm like, what's official? And he goes, you put the F word on Instagram. And I was like, yep, I did. And he goes, you should probably remove it. I said, I'll remove it if you can replace it with another word that would mean exactly the same. It has like the same punch, right? Yeah. I couldn't find anything else that had the same punch. So it's still somewhere on my Instagram. So then what I realized is that all my life, like I come from Eastern Europe, I was taught that hard work equals money. I can do this harder. I can work more hours. I can go to bed later. I can wake up earlier. I can do circles around everybody else to make more money. They don't teach us what to do with the money. So that year, I made twice as much money as I did the year before. I also worked twice as hard for it. And after paying taxes and my expenses, I ended up taking less money home than the year before when I worked half the amount. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so I'm a girl and I'm blonde, but I can do math. And this girl math ain't girl mathing. And I ain't stupid. I'm not working twice as hard to make half the amount of money to take home, right? So I was like, okay, I need to learn this money game. I need to learn how to structure my companies. I need to learn how to file taxes and an S corp. I need to learn how to hire and leverage. I need to learn how to automate. I need to learn my hourly rate and stay in my lane. I need to learn all of the tax deductions, the 6,000 pound call rule, the cost segregations, you name it, right? And name of that. I need to learn how to invest. I need to learn how to make my money make me money, right? I need to learn how to get to a point where I can stop trading time for money. I need to learn how to have passive income. I need to learn how to have reoccurring income. So all of those things, right? So I spent the last 5 years of literally getting to the end of Google, the end of courses, the end of the Tony Robbins and the Dean Graziosis and the name it, right? Like I've went to every training you can think of and read the books and the chat GPTs up until 2 a.m. figuring out how all this works. And then I realized that I had to go to literally 1,700 different sources to know what I know today. I can't be the only person who's hungry for this information. I can't be the only person who spends 4 to 8 hours a day researching from one end of the Google to the other end of the chat GPTs, and then spending tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching programs and masterminds and all of this to learn it. So I figured, okay, everything that I learned, I'm going to put it into one thing, and that is the Go Get 'em community. And then yesterday I asked ChatGPT, hey, because I saw it on Facebook, somebody said, who's the best financial advisor in the world? And I was like, ooh. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, said, who's the best entrepreneurial coaching, group coaching program in the world? And it gave me I think it gave me top 6. And the Go Get 'em community is number 1. It starts
Yeah.
with what you know, and then you continue on with bigger questions, and the answers get better the better questions you ask. The problem is sometimes you don't even know what to ask, because if you don't know that it exists, you don't know to question it. Right?
Yeah.
If you don't know that something better exists, then you don't question, you just take it for face value. Well, this is what it is. This is the cost of doing business, right? And so today, I would say 95% of my income is passive. I don't have to roll out of bed, and I will make more money next year than I do this year.
Mhm.
We have millions of dollars now in real estate investments. I have a coaching program. So there's really 3 ways how I spend money. Okay, I want to cover this one though, because you asked me about all of the digital products and how they all came about. Let me ask you this. Do you know what the enemy of good is?
Yeah, I'm going to say laziness.
Okay. So most people will say that the enemy of good is bad, right? No, the enemy of good is great. So most people will say, I have it so good, right? Like I'm good, everything's good, right? But you could have it great.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with that is what I meant to say is like comfort, like not being motivated anymore. Oh, I'm good.
Right. But I realized, I'm like, did I come all the way to America to have it good? I want to look back one day and be like, holy goodness gracious, every skill that God has put into me, I have put it to a test.
Mm-hmm.
I have taken it to 100%, if not more. Here's the beauty of, if you give it 100%, you don't ever have to question what if. Because if something is not working out, but you gave it all you got, just wasn't meant for you. And you know,
Sure.
it's not the lane, stay in your lane. Just don't spend any time and energy there. It doesn't come natural to you. You just can't seem to figure it out. Take your time, skill, and energy over here, right? So what I decided last year, I had all of these good ideas, I had all of these good products. I literally had a million different good products. I spent my time on a million different good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I spent the time, weeks, if not months, looking all of the things, all of the promotions, all of the trainings, all of the different things that we have done, all of the ebooklets, all of the everything that I have done last year, to be like, did it actually make me money?
It was actually my next main question, which is like you hear all the time, oh, spend this time, do this, you're make this. And it's like, what is actually worth it and not? Keep going.
So then I realized, looking at those things, I'm like, okay, it's really 3 things that makes me the most amount of money. And do I enjoy it? Like all of these other things that I'm doing. So put it this way, I had a transaction coordination company. It made me $4,000 a month. $4,000 a month for somebody, that's a very good income. You can do it from home. You can work 8 hours for it, make $4,000. I mean, that's a pretty good return on your investment, I would say. I shut that company down because 8 hours for me for $4,000, where one of my boot camps was $7,000 at the time, which I don't even
Mm-hmm.
have to trade time for, because I don't show up to those calls. Somebody charges a credit card and buys my boot camp. I can make $7,000 in 5 minutes passive. What am I doing with spending 8 hours of my life to make $4,000?
Yeah.
Like, am I dumb? So I ended up shutting the company down, which I learned a lesson from that. I should have sold that book of business, but hey, you live and learn. I wasn't that smart back then. I am smarter today. Today, I would just sell it to somebody who's would love to make $4,000 from home,
Yeah.
sitting at a computer 2 hours a week.
When you sell it, you're only paying, 20% federal and your state tax versus your net income of 46 to 50%. So there's another benefit of selling businesses too. You get that benefit. So like details
Yeah.
should be found.
But I wasn't that smart at the time.
You're learning. It sounds like you're constantly asking questions and solving those problems. And then I had a similar situation. So my background, I was in sports entertainment. I don't know if you've ever done obstacle races before, Tough Mudder Spartan race. So the TV show Wipeout on ABC. I partnered with Disney and ABC, and we took Wipeout run around the world. And, I was like, hey, I didn't want the Tough Mudder. I didn't want the fun run. I wanted something like Wipeout. So I created it.
It's like the one where they're like on these moving things and they
Oh,
falling
yeah.
into water and all.
Exactly. So
I could be your entertainment. I am so not coordinated. You put me in one of those things, you will die. You'll piss your pants
well,
laughing.
that's the
Like,
best part is that you could have any level of athleticism do it. You could have people that are great athletes. You could have people. I mean, we had these large inflatables. We had people that were like 400 pounds. They still had a great time. They got crushed. They got hit in the water. So it was made for everyone. We actually called it Ridiculous Obstacle Challenge. And it was based after the concept of Wipeout. And then Wipeout came to us because they saw what we were doing and we partnered with them. So that was actually a good business. I did that. Then I had a Halloween costume. This is a true story. Went and created a Ace and Gary, the ambiguously gay duo from Saturday Night Live. It's a cartoon character. We dressed up in the costume and we won like 3 Zoom contests in one night. We won $5,000. We should probably start doing this. So then I spent a year and I actually got the license from SNL. But that business would make like $50,000 a year. It's not worth my time. So now I'm distracting myself from Wipeout Run because I'm spending too much time over here. And so sometimes you start solving these problems and then it starts taking up too much of your time. Where if I had just focused on Wipeout, I would have done Ninja Warrior, I would have done another one, I would have been more successful versus $50,000 a year. So I completely understand where you're coming from. And my main question, which you answered, was which one of these streams are actually worth it and not worth it? And today, how do you actually figure out if another one is actually worth it or not? And I think you've done a great job answering that, because that's really, I've gotten distracted over my career of jumping into, oh, I can solve that problem or I can solve that problem. Interesting enough, I'm now in the most boring industry in the world, title insurance. And I had the one thing I've done right over the last 9 years is I have not gotten into any other industry. It's kind of interesting because I do think all your products are aligned with what you're doing. So that's step number one, check in a good way. Whereas me, I was doing Halloween businesses and obstacle races, no alignment at all, complete shit show, waste of everyone's time.
I worked in the plastics department at NSF International. I have a restaurant food safety auditor certification. I was the top salesperson in a jewelry store. I was a babysitter. I mean, you name it, I have done it. So I like to joke and say I've done the process of elimination of what I don't want to be when I grow up.
Sure.
To recap on the things, I realize I'm doing all of these different things. And yes, they're making me a little bit of money here and there, but it is not worth my time. Like my Amazon store, like, yes, I have my Amazon store because people ask me, what books do you read? Instead of going through all 1,700 of them, but I'm not doing that for the money. I think Amazon paid me like 20 bucks last year. I mean, like that is not the reason I'm doing it for. So I narrowed it down to 3 money-making pillars. So now I stay in my lane. Those are my only 3 things that I spend my time on. And then I have one that is not a moneymaker, but I do it because I enjoy it. Number 1 is the Team Gogo organization. Today, that is still my EXP organization. That is my biggest moneymaker. It's my joy. I love the real estate industry. I love taking other people, other agents, and helping them to grow into whoever they want to grow. Some people just want to sell, some agents just want to sell 1 real estate a month. Some agents want to build the number 1 team in their state. Some people want to be the number 1 solo agent. I have them all in the organization and I love it. I spend a lot of time nurturing my agent partners. The next one is the Go Get 'em community. So that is where now I'm taking people who are entrepreneurial, who are not just in it for the next transaction, but they're in it to build wealth and leave a legacy. Like that's huge for me. My children are actually not going to college because they don't need to. They can just take over our business that we have built and can live happily ever after, right? Like yesterday, my son actually had an English test that he opted out of. And he goes, I'm like, why did you opt out of it? He goes, well, Mom, the only reason we are taking that test is because it's going to give me 1 credit for college. I'm not going to college. So I was like, okay, fine. Right. So he knows what he wants and I know what the future looks like. It's not that I don't believe in education, but I believe if you're entrepreneurial, you don't need school education. Just go knee deep or elbow deep into entrepreneurship and you'll learn fast. Right.
Yeah.
And I do spend time in my circle. So circle is I take 20 individuals a year who are high 6-digit earners to turn them into 7 digits passive. What I noticed through the years that many people can make money, but they have no life, or they are on their 4th husband or 4th wife, or they gained 120 pounds in the making, or they, I mean, like in my opinion, you can have it all. You can have the amazing body, the amazing marriage. I've been happily married for 22 years, an amazing relationship with your children, amazing relationship with your friends and family and parents and brothers and sisters. Like I really truly have an amazing life. You can have an 800 plus credit score, which I do. You can live without debt. You can learn all of this. So now my real joy is to finding like-minded people who are just like me, but help them to get to where it took me years to get in 1 year versus 5 years on your own. Right. So these are the 3 things: is the Team Gogo organization, the Go Get 'em community, my circle. And then the one thing that I enjoy and I'll do it for free is my Gogopreneur podcast. So on there, I don't make any money because I don't take on sponsors, because I don't want to ever pitch a product that I don't personally use. And I enjoy that. So that's like my passion baby. And then there's 3 pillars that makes me money. Now I do want to add one thing. My biggest concern would be to have all of my eggs in the same basket. So as much as I'm a huge believer in stay in your lane, I'm also a huge believer if that market crashes for whatever reason, your income tanks. So this is why I want to have multiple, like my communities are somewhat tied to each other, but it's totally different. So for example, if transactions go down, which would be my Team Gogo organization income, right? Then that's when people usually start looking for coaching. They're like, oh, I need to learn, I need to be better than
Yeah.
everybody else, I need to earn the business back, right? So that's when my 2 coaching programs then come in, right? So one, yes, kind of feeds the other, but it's like the opposite side of the equation. So then this way, if one market tanks, you still have another source of income. So
Yeah.
I would recommend add something else.
You're hedging within your own industry. I like that. I mean, your industry, multi-trillion-dollar real estate industry is not going anywhere, so it's going to always be there. But you're right; it might change.
You remember COVID, and all of us were like, now what?
Yeah, exactly right. And then we figured it out. And I actually invested in EXP and Real, just public. They're public companies, so I can buy them
I do too.
because I like the fact that number one, if I were, I mean, I will say companies like Compass or other ones that have tons of office space, they couldn't have seen COVID company coming, and that is very unfortunate. But like, do you really need an office? No. What a waste of money if you're trying to be as profitable as possible. So I like the virtual model. I bought the stocks; they've both done well over time. The one thing I have noticed for those two, and I think this is a great point on why you go to EXP, is I know a few different people that own their own brokerage that have gone to EXP or Real. Because you own your own brokerage, you now have to hire all these people, you now have to pay for rent, you now have to do XYZ. And in EXP, I think you're getting 100% or.
People ask me all the time, why didn't I open my own brokerage? And I'm like, there's a reason why it's called broker.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
You're literally broker than when you were a top producing agent.
Yeah, that's true.
You remember, like, you worried enough of your own transactions of like one day you might get sued, and now I'm going to take on 50 people, and God knows what they're doing, and I'm going to take the liability on their transactions. Oh yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great model for someone like yourself, and no, I've seen it too. So I think there's some advantages there. Now, look, things constantly changing. We haven't seen commissions going down much on the buy side. We actually track this. We have a monthly report on the ongoing, ever since the NAR settlement and stuff. So that's good to see that hold strong. The value of the agents holding strong. But you never know. I mean, we're always told we're going to get replaced on the title side. Blockchain's going to come around.
I was always really good at negotiating commission, and I was fair, right? So I never reduced my commission, but if I put something into the MLS, it was 3%. So the buyer's agent got 3%. Well, in the past, if another agent couldn't negotiate, and now they put in a 1.5% or 2%, right? I couldn't negotiate. I just had to take whatever they were offering. Well, I actually like the NOR lawsuit because now I can negotiate. You want my buyers? Do you want who I bring to the table? Pony up.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I like it. How often are you doing your podcast?
2 releases every single month. But like this year, I'm taking the summer off. And also my podcast was on a national television show as well. And so I had contracts, right, that I had to fulfill. That contract ended and I didn't extend. So now I get to do whatever I want. I own my show. And so I just release episodes whenever I have the time. But I'm really good at batching. So we are months and months and months out in recordings. So even though I'm taking the whole summer off, we're going to Europe for the month of June and July, nobody's going to know that. Because, I mean, they're going to know that if they follow me on Instagram, right? But they're not going to feel it in the podcast releases because those have been pre-booked for months.
I love what you're doing. You said it. So we work with a lot of the biggest teams in the country. It's, and one thing I'm noticing is that as inventory has slowed down, it's been a lot harder for these teams to operate. They have to produce because it gets expensive to run a team.
How do you sleep at night? I literally run a 95-5, meaning 95% of my income I function off of 5%. They do it the other way around. Some of the biggest top producing teams, if they break a 13 to 15% profit, they are ballers.
Yeah, it's true.
15%, which means 85% cost, which means you have to make $1 million GCI to make $150,000. Well, if that's the thing, then why are you taking on all that liability? If really you're only taking home 150, and then just go sell one house a month, just one house a month as yourself. Forget all the expenses, forget all of the liability, but it's the ego and it's the accolades.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you bring it up because I think that is why I invest in those companies because that model does work. The model works where you're actually not there in the weeds. I've always said that I don't want to be in an industry longer for 10 years. I'm about to be in 10 in this one, and I'm going to stick in it longer. But because I got burned out. I was in the other one for 13 years, and I was just so burned out this last couple of years that it was just kind of a waste. It was a waste for everyone. I wasn't good for the company. Like I was just tired. I was exhausted. As soon as I started another industry, I had that energy back. However, because of the model you set up where you're living in Florida, you're seeing your family, you're seeing your kids, you're not getting burned out. And same for me. I'm entitled. I actually can see my kids on the weekends. And I'm like, you know what? I can do this another 10 years. So that is the benefit of setting up the life how you want. We've gotten there in different ways. You've become famous and everyone knows you. I'm in the most boring industry behind the scenes, but hey, we figured it out, right? The key was seeing our family and having time to do what you want to do, right?
Because what would be the end goal, right? If you look at it, of like so many people, especially my coaching program, I notice it, right? That we are working so hard for our families, but then you look back and be like, hold on, I don't spend any time with them.
Yeah. You mentioned you now like to put yourself around people that are like minded, that kind of thing. I'll throw out two ideas for you to consider. So I'm part of YPO, Young Presidents Organization. There's another one called Tiger 21. And it's entrepreneurs that have been very successful, that have sold businesses or have had successful businesses, and they get together to experience share. Hey, here's an issue I had. Here's what I did. You do what you want with it. But you're putting yourselves around like-minded people that have just opened my eyes to whether their investment opportunities or ways of thinking about things. So I'm happy to connect you with them. Both of them are global organizations. They have these little micro groups in each city. So what city are you in?
Tampa.
Cool. So there's definitely ones in Tampa. Happy to connect you. You should check it out though. So the one thing I've noticed as I've gotten a little bit older and where's my time valuable? Right? Can I go out for a one-on-one coffee with a real estate agent? It's just not worth it. But if I go to this YPO event of these 100 entrepreneurs that have built businesses over 100 million plus, what I'm going to learn from that and the relationships I'm going to build is just going to be much more valuable for the company and being able to push things forward. Because like when you were talking about like, oh, $50,000. So for me, I have 70 employees. If I want to just give a $5,000 raise to 70 employees, I have to find $350,000 to be flat, right? So I mean, just to be flat. So when you think about your time, like, oh great, I just found a deal that got me $80,000. Well, it really didn't. I'm still short another 270. I don't know if that math is right, but I'm hoping it is. And so point is, like you have to be thinking of it in that way. What's worth your time? 100% agree with what you're talking about.
Yeah, the math has to be mathing for when you're spending an hour of your life.
Exactly. All right. Well, it sounds like you figured out your pillars. I have a feeling because you ask all these questions all the time, you're going to figure out more things to solve in the future. But be careful that it doesn't give up your time with your kids and your family, right?
Exactly. So I only work now Monday to Wednesday and 10 to 4. If it fits into that time, I do it. If not, I don't do it. I think the beauty of being able to afford things is that you don't have to do things anymore for money, right? So I'm like, no, if the answer is no, no is my new favorite word. No.
Exactly. Thanks for saying yes to this.
I love it. I love podcasts. This is my passion, baby, right? My own podcasts or going on other people's podcasts because I learn from you while I'm on here too, right? So I love anything that feeds my brain. I love to help others to take them to the next level. I love to wake people up for the American dream because this country is an amazing place. And we are fortunate that we get to build here. And here, it doesn't matter if you're man or woman. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 50. It doesn't matter if you have college education or you don't, or what bloodline you are from, or what language you speak, or what nationality you are. Nothing matters. Like you literally can go build whatever great idea you come up with, go do it.
That's exciting to hear. You moved here at 22. How did you make that decision?
So I was born and raised in a communist country. It was still communism until I was 8. And so I remember some of it. Of course, I was a young child, so I don't remember it very vividly, but there are quite a few things that I do remember. And I remember when communism ended, which was 1989, my dad came home with a color TV and a VCR player, and he brought home 48 Hours by Eddie Murphy. And I watched it, and that was the first time I've ever seen a black person. Didn't even knew they existed, because when you live in communism, you're cut off from the Western world. There's no radio, there's no television, there's no magazine, there's no access to outside of the country whatsoever, period. I remember looking at him, and he seemed so happy. And everybody I saw around me was so miserable. Like, communism is no fun. Having to live in it is no fun. And seeing my parents and my aunts and uncles and all of the young adults in the country, I was like, they're all fucking miserable. And this guy named Eddie Murphy, he just looked so happy. Right. And I was like, I want to go where he's at. I thought he was happy because wherever he was at, I didn't even know what America was. So that's like my first memory of like putting it out there to the universe. And I'm going to go where the man is at, this happy man. And that was at age 8 in 1989. And then, time goes by. I went to high school. I went to college in Hungary for a year and a half. In my third year, I had to pass an English exam, which I spoke like shit. And I thought the easiest way to learn English would be to go and live with the people who speak it. So being a Romanian citizen, it wasn't easy to come to the United States. It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to pack a luggage and come to America. You have to get a visa. And visas were not just handed out. So I had three ways of getting a visa: being an au pair, which is a living nanny, working on an oil rig, or on a cruise. And I got all three jobs. I applied for all three. I got all three. Thank God that God doesn't answer all of our prayers. And thank God I took the au pair job. My host parents were in Michigan. So I went to New York for like a week or two training of how to be an au pair and CPR and all that. And then I was placed out to my host parents who lived in Brighton, Michigan. And I ended up meeting my husband about almost 2 months after I came to America in a bar on St. Patrick's Day. And then I met his parents 2 days later. I moved in 2 months after that. And 2 months after that, we were married.
Hey, no, you did. I mean, you brought up something. There's little things in life you remember. And I love that Eddie Murphy coming to America. Like, this guy is so happy. I want to be in a place that allows me to be that happy, right? I mean, that's a great story.
And I was like, I want to be free like him and I want to be happy like him. And to me, he just seemed like so free spirited, right? And I was like, I'm gonna go and live where he lives.
That's the power of movies, by the way. I mean, I feel like I can think through movies that like literally like motivated me and like I want to be like that person or whatever. They just have so much power when you really think about it. Do they have that much power now? I don't know. I'm sure they do, but there was a lot less things to watch.
So just let's put it out there. Somebody's listening who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows Eddie Murphy. Please tell Eddie Murphy I love him. I want to hug. Because he's very private. He doesn't have any social media. I would have sent him a million messages by now.
His stand-up back in the day is one of the most remarkable things ever. You know, his run Raw, if you ever saw that. I still think he's like the funniest person I've ever seen in stand-up. For people out there that want to learn from you, want to work with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So Gogo's Real Estate on Instagram. That's the only platform I personally answer. Everywhere else, you're going to get one of my assistants. But on Instagram, under Gogo's Real Estate, I personally answer every single DM. And of course, you can find everything that I do under gogobethke.com.
Hey, you're very busy. You only work Monday to Wednesday, so you're halfway through your week. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed seeing you speak in person. Love your story and what you've done.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate being your guest.